What happens when a beloved country music star walks onto a talk show stage expecting a warm and easy conversation about her new album, only to end up face to face with a host who seems determined to drag her into a messy political debate? What you're about to hear is one of the most unbelievable moments in daytime TV, a moment where Joy Behar believed she could push around Reba McEntire, but ended up getting hit with a reality check so sharp it left her stunned and the whole audience in disbelief. This is the story of how one of country music's most admired voices completely flipped the situation on a host who clearly misjudged her. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, because once you hear how this goes down, you'll definitely want to talk about this train wreck with someone. The morning started like any other inside the studio. Reba McEntire had arrived early, her iconic red hair perfectly done, wearing a stylish navy jacket that made her look calm and confident. She had been invited onto the show to talk about her upcoming tour and her new music, something she had done many times over her long career. But as she sat in the green room adjusting her mic, she had no way of knowing that Joy Behar had an entirely different plan for this interview. "We're back in 30 seconds. The floor manager called out while the crew rushed around the set. Reba gave a friendly smile to the other hosts. Whoopi Goldberg nodded at her in a supportive way. Reba had usually enjoyed being on the show. She liked the energetic discussions and the welcoming live audience. But something felt off today. There was a strange tension in the air she couldn't quite identify. "And we're live in 3 a broken bar to broken bar," the floor manager signaled as the familiar theme music faded away. "Welcome back to The View," Joy said with her usual pointed grin. "We're here with country music legend Reba McEntire, who has a new tour coming up." But before we get into the music, Reba, I think people would like to know where you stand on some of the major issues affecting working families in America. Reba's smile weakened just a bit. This was not what she expected. "Well, Joy, I'm mainly here to talk about my music and connect with the fans who've been with me all these years." "Oh, come on now," Joy pushed, leaning forward with that look she gets when she's about to stir trouble. "You have a platform. You have influence. Surely you have opinions about what's going on in the country. I mean, your fan base is mostly conservative, right? Rural America, the same people who've been voting against their own best interests for ages." Several audience members shifted in their seats. Even Whoopi raised an eyebrow at Joy's heavy-handed opening. Reba straightened her posture. She had performed for decades, and she knew how to read a room. She could tell this one was about to turn unfriendly. "Joy, I think you're making some unfair assumptions about my fans," Reba said calmly. "My audience includes all kinds of people: teachers, farmers, nurses, small business owners, military families. They're hard-working folks who take care of their families and their communities." "But let's be honest," Joy interrupted again. "These are the same people who support policies that harm working women, that take away reproductive rights, that ignore climate change. How do you justify entertaining people whose values are so outdated?" The room went silent. Reba's jaw tightened subtly, but her voice stayed steady. "Joy, I think you're confusing political labels with real human beings," she said. "The people who come to my concerts aren't defined by who you think they voted for. They're parents worried about their kids. They're people trying their best in a difficult world." "That's a nice dodge," Joy snapped, unsatisfied. "But we all know country music has a long-standing issue with diversity and inclusion. The industry has excluded artists of color for decades. Don't you think you should use your platform to call out those problems?" Reba's eyes sharpened. For the first time, the viewers at home could see the strength beneath her friendly southern charm. "Joy, maybe you should do a little more research," Reba said, still controlled but clearly irritated. "Country music has roots in blues, gospel, folk traditions from many communities. Artists like Charlie Pride, Darius Rucker, Mickey Guyton, Kane Brown, these aren't tokens. They're incredibly talented musicians who've earned every bit of their success." "But historically," Joy pushed on, ignoring the warning signs, "the country music world has been closed off. And honestly, your silence on social justice issues says a lot." During the height of Black Lives Matter, where was Reba McEntire? The whole studio seemed to drop in temperature. Reba leaned forward, her voice calm but edged with steel. My silence? Joy, you clearly haven't paid attention to my life or my work. I've spent 40 years supporting charities, helping underprivileged kids, raising money for disaster relief, and giving back however I can. But I don't feel the need to announce every good thing I do on social media to score political points. Joy's face reddened, realizing her usual intimidation routine wasn't landing. Well, it's convenient, Joy said, that you can hide behind charity instead of taking real political stances. Your fans deserve to know your views. And what makes you think they don't know? Reba fired back, her voice stronger now. You're sitting here telling me what my fans believe, what they care about, what they deserve. But tell me, Joy, a broken bar, when was the last time you talked to any of them? When was the last time you set foot in a small town? When was the last time you sat with families dealing with real hardship and listened instead of preaching? The other hosts exchanged uncomfortable glances. This was spiraling far from what Joy had expected. Whoopi tried to cut in, but Joy pushed ahead. I don't need to visit small towns to understand that your fan base votes for people who attack women's rights, environmental protections, and social progress, Joy insisted. And your refusal to condemn them makes you part of the problem. That was the moment everything shifted. Reba's entire energy changed. Gone was the polite guest. In her place was a woman who had built her career through resilience and strength, and she wasn't about to let anyone tear down her character or insult the people who had supported her for decades. Reba placed her coffee cup on the table with slow, deliberate firmness. The small sound echoed like a warning. Joy, Reba said, her voice calm but heavy with restrained anger, let me explain something about complicity. Complicity is sitting in a comfortable New York studio, making a big salary, judging people you've never met, pretending you speak for working families. Complicity is assuming that anyone who doesn't think exactly like you must be ignorant or immoral. Joy opened her mouth to interrupt, but Reba raised her hand, stopping her cold. Number. You've talked enough. Now it's my turn. The audience leaned in. You want to talk about my fans? Let me tell you about Sarah from Tennessee, Reba continued. A single mom working 3 jobs who saved for months to bring her daughter to my show because my music helps them smile for a while. Or Frank from Iowa, a veteran dealing with PTSD who finds comfort in my songs. These are real people with real stories and not the flat stereotypes you're trying to push. Joy tried to regain control, but her voice was shaky. I'm not attacking them personally, she insisted. I'm just talking about the political effects, sir. You mean the effects of people like you, Reba said sharply. People who think Middle America needs to be lectured by coastal elites. Whoopi attempted to intervene again. Joy, however, insisted on continuing. I want to hear how Reba justifies staying silent on big issues, Joy said, but her courage was fading. Reba let out a short, icy laugh. So now you want me to educate people? Joy, you seem to think that disagreeing with you equals ignorance. That's not education. That's arrogance. Joy visibly began to sweat. But some issues are clear-cut, Joy said. Human rights, equality, decency, those aren't political. They're moral. And I agree, Reba said calmly. They are moral. Which is why it's strange that you act like you're the only moral voice in the room. Tell me, Joy, when's the last time you volunteered somewhere outside your social circle? When's the last time you went to places you claim to fight for? Joy's face darkened. I give to many causes, she snapped. Writing checks from a high-rise apartment is not the same as understanding people's lives, Reba replied. You sit here every day talking about what's wrong with the country, but you've isolated yourself. How can you speak for working families when you haven't lived their reality in years? The other hosts looked distressed. This was no longer a political disagreement, it was a complete dismantling. I resent that, Joy said, losing her composure. I grew up working class. I know what struggle is. Do you? Reba asked softly. Because the woman you used to be would never talk down to people the way you just did. The room went silent. Joy's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. You want to talk about using platforms responsibly? Reba continued. Let's talk about how you use yours. Every day, you come here and push division. You paint half the country as enemies. You've turned disagreements into personal attacks. That's not accountability. That's hostility. Joy whimpered. We talk about important issues. We hold people accountable. You tear them down, Reba said. Accountability requires fairness. What you do is accuse people of being morally bad if they don't agree with your worldview. The audience murmured in agreement. You're twisting my words, Joy said weakly. I didn't. Didn't you? Reba asked. You said my fans vote against their own interests and support backwards values. Should we ask the producers to replay it? Joy froze. I was generalizing voting trends, she stuttered. Joy, stop, Reba said gently. You're only making this worse. Just be honest about what you said. Joy went silent, completely drained. You know what I think happened today? Reba said. You've lived in your bubble so long that you forgot other intelligent people exist. People who don't agree with you but aren't your enemies. You're surrounded by people who clap for every opinion you have. It's made you lazy. Joy whispered. That's not fair. Not fair, Reba echoed. You've been unfair since the moment the segment began. The crowd stayed absolutely quiet. I came here as your guest, Reba said. But you treated me like someone you needed to put in my place. Whoopi tried to close the segment, but Reba held up her hand. The audience deserves to see the truth, she said. Joy looked defeated, unable to escape. I just want people to think critically, Joy whispered. No, Reba said. You want people to think like you. Joy's shoulders slumped. Here's what I want people to understand, Reba said warmly. We don't have to think the same to treat each other with kindness. But assuming those who disagree are evil, that's tearing this country apart. The audience slowly began to clap, then louder and louder. Joy sat still, humiliated. I came here to talk about music, Reba said softly as the applause settled. Because music brings people together. A broken bar